Well, hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Killam. I'm with the communication team with the Alliance, and I am based in Rockford, Illinois, which is somewhere near Chicago. The topic we're going to approach today is recording and transcribing meetings and interviews. And if you don't do interviews as part of your job, this is still, I think, relevant just because there is so much new technology available for recording, transcribing meetings, organizing meeting notes, even some of the stuff is just mind-boggling. So I worked in journalism for years, and if I had had access to this technology, the years of my life have been spent transcribing interviews. And so this is like, ugh, I was born about 20 years too early here, because this would have really helped with some things. So I'm going to try something ambitious here. I'm going to share my screen two different ways. The first way is I'm just going to give you a quick demo of one app, and it's called Whisper Transcription. This is just a free app. I use a Mac, and so this is a Mac application. If you're using a PC or even want to do this on your phone, there are so many ways to do this. So I'm not recommending this as the option, but I just want to kind of show you how this works. So you get this home screen, and there's a bunch of options. I'm on the free plan for this, but I'm going to go to Open Files. And I'm going to just do a podcast that we just edited the other day. This is Joe. This is actually your podcast episode number 4. So I'm going to open it here. This is an audio file that I'm opening. So it's a recording I've made. I'm going to hit open, and this is transcribing live at this speed. It's just mind-boggling. Now you'll see there are typos and there are some issues, but it's pretty good. And this is about a 28-minute podcast, and you're seeing it flow in here in real time. And let's see how long this takes to do the whole thing. This would have been about 2 to 3 hours of transcription using the old method of typing it. And it's still going, it's still going. This is an interview with Ruth Smith Sutherland from Wycliffe Caribbean that it's transcribing here. So I'm actually doing work as we're doing this because I have to do the transcription for this to post this when we do when we publish the podcast. Okay, it's giddy there, it's finished. Okay, so that took probably less than a minute to do a 28-minute podcast. And again, it's going to have some trouble, like in the company of Travers, which is supposed to be travelers, a podcast of the Wycliffe Global Alliance. So we'll just leave Wiglet in there and see if anyone notices. But it gets some of the names right. It's the Sovaland. But what you can do then is just dump this into Microsoft Word or someplace and do search and replace and take care of the typos. But this is such a time saver. And again, this is free. And it's, there's a limited amount you can do each month. But there's also multiple ways to do this and multiple apps you can do this on. So that's the quick demonstration. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to go to a PowerPoint. So again, it's not brand new technology, but it's much improved since the last time even you may have checked this. This is improving by the week right now, as most AI products are. So if you haven't tried this in a few weeks or a few months, you're going to be shocked at how good it is. So first thing we'll talk about is recording. Some of you, if you're my age or close, would remember this sort of a recording device which held the cassette tape, 5 buttons. Life was so simple then. All you had to do was push a button, record, stop, take the tape out. For the past, so I don't know, 20 years or so, I've used a piece that looks like this. This is actually my recorder that I still use. If you've worked with me, you've seen this. It's held together with duct tape at this point. It's not in great shape, but it works great. And this takes digital recordings, and then I can take it apart, plug it into my computer on a USB port, and dump the file in that way. So up until fairly recently, this was maybe the best way to do this. And then now you can pretty much do this on a phone. You don't necessarily need the separate recording device, even though it's kind of handy. People will say they like a device that does one thing. I'm still kind of that way too. So I really do kind of like that, where I just use it for that and nothing else. But there are many, many apps that you can use as voice recorders. So several things to remember on that one as you're going to use it to record. You want to make sure your battery level is above 30% before you start a recording or sitting at a meeting or recording an interview. Make sure you have enough storage. Put the phone on airplane mode or do not disturb so that you don't have a bunch of interruptions in your call. But you'll see something that looks like this. This is just a general recording app. This is on the Android side. I think it's just called Recorder. And then on the Mac side, or on the iPhone side, which is what I use, you get that screen off to the left here, and I've got the arrow pointing to the little sound waves. That's the thing called voice memo, and that's the iPhone version of a voice recorder, and you get the screen on the right, which just shows the recordings. It's really simple. You just push the red button to record. It's pretty good. You get a lot of recording time. It says memos, so it sounds like you're only recording, 30 seconds or something, but you can record full conversations, meetings, interviews that way. Just got to be sure that your phone is in a place where it picks up everyone on the conversation. So if you are sitting at a table or something in a meeting, set it out in front. Don't put it down at your side or something. And it's not going to be the best quality recording, but for voices, it's adequate. You can't even do this. You can put a laptop in the middle of a table at a meeting and usually a laptop will have some sort of a recording app that you can use, and the microphone on that is pretty good too, which is the same one I'm using right now. I'm not using an external mic to do this. So all that to say, there are many, many options for how you can record. You just want to be sure that you're in a quiet place. I would not set glasses of water right next to my laptop, so that's an AI generated picture that I made, but I don't think they were being very careful there because that looks really precarious. And then there's other things you can use as apps that will do the recording and actually start getting into transcription. So we'll talk about that a little bit. This is Otter AI. Some of you may have tried this one. This one's been around longer than some, but it'll do the recording. And there is a free plan here. It's limited, but you can try it and use it. I'll show you the pricing here in a second on what it costs in US dollars. But this will do the real-time transcription. So, and Zoom does this too. Not fantastically accurate, but it does it. And that's as you're talking, you'll see the words pop up on the screen, or you see the words pop up in a transcription. And then you'll see some of these other things that Otter does here, keyword highlighting, sentiment analysis. That sounds almost creepy. And automatic action items. So there's stuff that it'll do to organize meeting notes for you beyond just taking the notes. I know Zoom does a bit of this too. Otter's a little bit better from what I understand. You'll see that up here on the left where you can see that picture of the screen. That's what the transcription will look like as you're meeting. So it's really kind of jarring to see your words pop up in text right in front of you. And again, realizing, oh, this would have saved me years off my life to do this in journalism. But if you're doing interviews or anything, I don't know that I'd have that function turned on, but it's a great way to do transcription. These are the Otter prices. There's a free plan. It's 300 monthly transcription minutes, which that's a lot, and that's pretty good if you're not doing this, doing interviews every day or something, or recording meetings every day. So if you wanted to try it, it's very free, and then you see where the pricing goes from there. So that's Otter AI. That's one of the ones that I would say is a really good option to do this and do transcribing. The next one is Riverside, and that's what we're using currently to do our podcasts with the Alliance. This gives you basically a studio, they call it, and it records everyone in it's like a Zoom setting. So you get a room where you're meeting, but it records everyone locally. So you don't get those lags from slow internet or something, and then it combines everything at the end. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Riverside in a minute, but that's what it does. The other nice thing that Riverside does is it has a phone app that looks like this screen where you're actually able to record and transcribe and actually put a whole podcast together. And this is with multiple guests or something, but you can do that all from a phone. So another nice little feature that it offers. And then you can do video as well with Riverside. So it's not just audio. Okay, do I need an external microphone? Because we can way overthink this sometimes. If you're recording something that's going to be for publication, usually the answer is going to be yes, although if you're using Riverside to do, say, a podcast, and we do this, not all of us have mics, and it's been working fine because Riverside processes the sound. So if you're needing something that's publication quality for a podcast or something similar and it's just voices, you don't necessarily need an external mic. It's not a bad idea because you do get much better sound quality, but don't let that hold you back if you don't have access to one. Your computer mic will work. You just need to be kind of in front of it like you would be for a meeting, like a Zoom meeting, and not have a lot of background noise, say air conditioning or heat going, or birds or traffic noise or anything like that. Although a laptop mic isn't going to pick up a lot of that anyway because it's a directional mic, so it's shooting directly at you. The disadvantage to that is if you are trying to use a laptop mic to record live people in a room, it's going to be harder to hear the other people that aren't right in front of your computer. So that's the trade-off on that. Okay, so that's kind of a very quick look at recording and some options, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of those in a minute. One of the things that's going to come up is, okay, what kind of file do I want to save? Sometimes you'll get a choice. You get a WAV file or an MP3 file. If you get the choice, it's a good idea to choose Wave. It's a higher quality audio signal, and you can always convert it to MP3, which is the compacted. The sound quality is not nearly as good, or the recording quality is not as good with MP3. So that's this compressed file that you can move files around much easier. But if you can start with Wave, it's a good idea. And then you can convert it later, or if you sometimes your audio editing program will convert it or export it. Otherwise, you can use some sort of a free converter app. I have something called Audio Converter Lite, which will change one file format to another, and it's free. So there's lots of ways you can do that. But again, if you have the choice, record in WAV and then transfer it to something else. Okay, let's get into transcribing. If you've ever been in a courtroom prior to about 2000, they used to use these stenotype machines, which was the person paid as a court reporter to sit and type everything that happened in court. And it was always this, it looked like sorcery of some kind because it wasn't a regular typewriter. I still have no idea how they did it with that few keys, but that's what stenographers did, was use a machine like that. I never had to go back that far, but up until very recently, I used this, which is a transcription pedal. And you connect this to the USB port on your laptop, and you play a audio file through your laptop. And with the pedal, you can stop and start as you're typing, and so it would speed things up. I thought this was the ultimate in recording technology and transcribing technology because it did save hours of time. It still meant I had to type everything. And so I'm not using this anymore. It's still, in fact, sitting on my floor over here and hasn't been touched in a few months because AI has replaced it. But it's a nice little tool if you've ever used one of those. So that's another transcription tool from the near past. Okay, some ways to transcribe. This is Microsoft Word, and there is a dictate function in Microsoft Word. So now you can't, as far as I know, play a recording, but if you want to read something to Microsoft Word, it will type it for you if you hit that dictate button. That's something where if you've got you could record a meeting that way, I think. It's not the best, but if you're looking for a cheap solution that you may already have, that's a way to do it. One thing you want to do if you use that is go to your settings on that dictate function and enable auto punctuation. Otherwise, you're going to have no punctuation show up in the whole thing, and then you got to go back through and add all the periods. And the one thing you can do if you don't do it that way, and I do this on my phone sometimes if I'm dictating a text, is I'll just say, hello, period. How are you today, period. And if you add the punctuation as you dictate to it, it will work and it'll put those in there, but you kind of have to be a little nerdy to do that. So it's not my favorite way to do it, but it does work. Okay, whisper transcription. This is the one I showed you at the outset. This is that Mac app. That's what it looks like. It is free. I'm going to show you several apps here. This one was pretty useful, and you saw as it came through on my screen when we started, some mistakes, but most of these are, say, 95% accurate and above. To me, that's pretty acceptable given how much time they're saving. So, Whisper transcription is one in the Mac store. Here's another one called Mac Whisper. This is another Mac app. Same kind of thing. It's going to do auto transcription. It's going to organize your notes if you want it to. And there's lots of other things it will do. That's another, I believe that one's free also. This is Mac Whisper this is the actual screen. So you're seeing you get a timer. It's going to identify speakers. It does many languages, and all of these are going to do many languages as well. So if you're having a conversation in one language and transcribing to another, I think you can even handle that with most of this. So that's Mac Whisper. Here's one called Super Whisper. You're getting a trend here, right? And how they're naming these, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But Super Whisper is another really good one. This is one that will do multi-language support. It's got where it organizes your notes and helps you even like if you're trying to do a news story from a conversation, it'll all get you started with that even. So this one is highly recommended from people that I saw reviewing these. Here's the pricing for Super Whisper. There's a free version, so you can try it. It's not a lot, but 100 plus languages of support, so that's interesting. And even the Pro version is not that much. If you're using this a lot, it's probably worth giving it a try. Okay, why is everything called Whisper? Why does everything have a whisper in the title? And it doesn't all, but a lot of these do. That's because this is all built on something called Whisper, which is a open source free app that does the very thing that all these apps are doing that they want to charge you to do eventually. Now, if you are comfortable using a screen that looks like this, good luck. You're going to need Python, which I know is a coding language. That's all I know about Python. You're going to have to know how to enter code. There are many tutorials online. If you Google how to install Whisper, you'll find it. Now, again, you've got to use the thing on your computer called Terminal, which is where you just enter hard code. I can't guarantee that you're not going to launch missiles someplace if you do this. So, be really careful because you could really mess things up if you crash this. So if you've got someone in your company or your organization that knows how to use Python, You can install this on your computer absolutely free and do all the stuff I just showed you. It's just you've got to do some code, and when you use the product, you've got to use a bit of code. There are many directions on how to do that, but the advantage to doing it this way, it runs completely on your machine. You're not ever having to send anything to someone else's server. You don't have to use the internet for it. It's completely local. So if you've got a high security situation and you need to be transcribing things and no one else should be able to see that, or no one outside of your organization, this is a good option. Again, if you don't know Python and don't want to launch missiles, then don't necessarily use this. But if you've got some tech people who are pretty good with this, it's an option. Let me show you an option I would say is probably better. And that's an app called Echo. And that is, again, it's Whisper, just packaged in a little bit better way so that it's easier to use. That is on the App Store. I'm pretty sure it's also available for PC, but there are products that will run Whisper for free. This one costs $24 US, but the advantage to this, just like the one I just showed you, is that it all runs locally. So if you wanted to be able to do all this transcription without having to share it across a network or across a cloud, this is a good option because it's going to run completely on your computer. And again, it's Whisper. So OpenAI is the company that does Whisper. They're also the ones that do Chat GPT. So everything you're seeing that's AI based from OpenAI or companies like that are probably using Whisper. So whatever app you're going to use, that's probably what's underneath it all. Remember too, this one's $24. You've probably heard this. When something is free, you are the product. So you are sharing your information and your files when you use something free. And the advantage to running something on your device, again, is that nothing's going to leave your device. So that's ACO. Our team has used something called Descript in the past, and that's another very good transcriber. It's also got a free plan. This one so you see some options here, cleanup video recording. This one, if you get the paid plan, you can even start generating audio or video with an avatar. So if you've got a situation where you need to not show the speaker, but have somebody who looks like a speaker, that you can generate a video of an avatar speaking. You can clean up podcasts. You can turn slides into video. There's a whole lot of stuff Descript will do. If you're working in a creative side of things and needing to create content, this is one to really look at. It does a lot, and honestly, I haven't worked with it other than transcribing and doing some subtitling for videos at times. And so there's a lot more it'll do than that. Here's the pricing on Descript. There is, again, a free plan, 100 AI credits at sign up. I don't know what that means. I guess it's better than 95 free AI credits. So I don't know how many minutes that means, but you do get a limited trial of everything. And then there's something, this gets expensive in a hurry because it does a lot more than some of the other ones I showed you. So if you're something they call a hobbyist, it's already $16 a month. That's a bit expensive for you and I think. But again, take a look if you're interested in that. The Descript has been found to be 98.4% accurate, and it's one of those good all-in-one tools for recording, editing, transcribing. And there's a few others too, like I've shown you, but I'd say this might be the best one. It just costs a little bit more. Okay, Otter AI, I showed you this before, but I just wanted to repeat that's another one of these kind of all-in-one products that's really good with recording, transcribing, translating, all sorts of things. And there's the Otter pricing again, the free plan, and then other options there. Okay, I wanted to mention too that when we are recording meetings, and if you're using those for your meeting minutes, this is an example that occurred on our team just last week. So we were talking about stuff we were thinking about doing as a team. We had all these grand plans, and I said jokingly to Gwen, who's on our team, can you have that done by tonight? Meaning, of course, this is going to take months. And we all laughed. But what Zoom AI heard was this. The team discussed creating content about Bible translation, with Jim requesting Gwen to prepare a Bible Translation 101 section, including a glossary and challenges by that evening. So AI does not generally have a sense of humor. And so if you're going to take notes from meetings this way, be sure you go back through them because you can get some misinterpretation and you may have things in minutes or things that are interpreted as assignments that really aren't. And so it's just a little warning there to be a little careful with that. Okay, uh, like everything with AI, this is all going to change. If I was doing this presentation 2 months ago, you would not have seen a lot of what I just showed you. So it is changing that fast. In 2018, a service called Wirecutter, which is part of the New York Times, found that the best AI transcription tools were 73% accurate. Today, even the least accurate is 94%, and the best ones are 98 or 99. So, my best advice is look at some of these, find one you like, use it for a while, and then look around and see if anything new has come out that works better. And we can kind of share notes on this too as a group. And if you found something, and I'm certainly not hitting every potential product here today. You've probably come across things that may work better than some of the things I've mentioned. So just to be aware that everything is changing in this very fast. And so what is the best product today may not be next week. And just to look ahead, I ran across this. This is a Mobvoi TickNote AI voice recorder. It's about the size of two credit cards stacked on top of each other. You stick it on the back of your phone, you turn it on, and it records everything you're doing. As if you're in a meeting, I mean, it can record you just doing memos or whatever. But then it will also take those recordings, analyze them, turn them into mind maps, turn them into transcriptions, just all sorts of things. It costs $99.99 on Amazon. It's $159 at ticknote.ai, but it's got a 25-hour battery. It stores more than 400 hours of recordings, and it records up to 10 meters away with a decent microphone. So now again, I don't think I necessarily want a product that's going to be recording my every move and then analyzing my day for me, but you can turn it on and off. So if you just want to sit in a meeting with it or something, and it's got this thing called Shadow AI inside of it, which also doesn't sound the most comfortable, but that's going to really analyze everything you're doing or everything that happened at this meeting. So I've got a quick video. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but
What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with Tech Daily. So this is the Mobvoi
are you
Hypno,
seeing
and
it
it
too, or are you
aims to
just seeing
be
a blank
your
slide?
handy little AI helper, assisting in all sorts of tasks throughout the day. TickNote is a compact AI-powered voice recorder designed to capture, process, and deliver audio-based information quickly and intelligently. It's not just a recorder, but an AI note taker. That's the high-level jargon pitch, at least. But what it really aims to do is record important conversations like meetings, lectures, or announcements, summarize what it hears, organize that information, translate it if necessary, and ensure you always have a backup.
Okay, so that was mostly just to show you the direction things are heading. These are the pricing plans for that TickNote plan. You can buy TickNote as an app without buying the recording and do all the stuff on your own computer. It'll have a little recording device embedded in the app. But that's just to show you where this is headed. You have this little device you can carry that's going to basically be your administrative assistant and can record and analyze everything you're doing. So there's some pricing on that. This is a cartoon that was in the Atlantic this month, showing kind of a interesting take on AI. It's destroying civilization, but on the other hand, I've never been more productive. I get it. AI is, there are some huge concerns about where this is all going. In the meantime, I've never been more productive. So you can kind of take advantage of some of the things it's offering and maybe be a little wary about where some of this is heading. This is where this is going to be located. If you go to the bottom of wycliffe.net at the footer part of the page, go to communication resources, and that's where we share all of these videos and all of this training. And this would be a great time to see if you have questions or comments, or maybe there is something you've tried that works way better than something I have shown you today, because that's certainly possible. I when I told Phil I would do this session, I had no idea all this was available. So I've been learning this about 3 days ahead of most of you. But it is really just mind-boggling how much is out there. A lot of it for free, or a lot of it very low cost. And if you're doing any transcribing and recording of meetings and interviews, it is a huge time saver. So I would just say experiment with some things and see what works for you.
When you're writing a story, you transcribe a whole interview rather than just going in and picking out bits and pieces from it. Can you explain a bit about why you choose to do that?
Because I have a short attention span and I don't remember things from an interview. And so when I go back through, I always catch something that I missed the first time. So even when there's an AI tool that's doing the transcription, I make sure I go back and read through it. And sometimes I'll even listen to it and correct the typos or the name misspellings or things like that. But listening to an interview the second time always gives me something I had neglected the first time. So, and that's for stories. Again, if it's for a meeting, I can't think of a meeting where I've wanted to go back and listen to the whole meeting again. But the notes at least do give you some highlights. And so it just depends. If you're doing something where you need a verbatim transcription that's going to be published as a story or something, yeah, I'll go back through and make sure that I heard everything right.
So, and with that as well, could you impression on how these AI tools are dealing with accents? Because we've been using these off and on for a while, and some accents it picks up really clearly, but other accents it struggles with. What's been your experience with that?
It's one of those things that's gotten way, way better in the past 2 months, I'd say, maybe 3 months. I transcribed, Joe, it was your podcast interview with Paul Kimby from Cameroon, who speaks African English with a very heavy accent, and it was very accurate. And so, yeah, and I think I was looking at Ruth's that we tried live here, and she's Jamaican, so her accent is pronounced also. I'm finding that it picks things up really well and transcribes accents really well, and that was not true 3 months ago. It's improved a lot, but yeah, give it a try. So far, I've been impressed.
Mhm.
Can I just say that using Riverside, which we're just using the free version, was so much easier to do a podcast than using Zoom, which is what we used for our first season, right down to one of our guests, you could hear traffic noise, and that didn't show up on the recording. So it managed to clean up the background, which I was pretty impressed about.
Yeah, I found that true with Riverside too, is that there's a function that says eliminate background noise as you're exporting it. And you can also, I think it's like even out the recording levels or something. So if you've got somebody who's got a hot mic and somebody who's sitting too far away, it'll even those out for you in the final. So yeah, it's just a product that's made for recording versus Zoom, which is a meeting app, which is great, but it's not, its specialty is not creating podcasts. So yeah, thanks, Joe. Again, keep in mind that I've learned this about 2 days before you guys, so I don't consider myself an expert on much of this, but one of the best things you can do with AI stuff is just challenge yourself to learn something new every week or every month because there's so much out there and there's so much that really can help us.
One of the things I was going to ask you was about security, um, but I think you probably gave pointers thinking about that ACO app that was in there. But any other thoughts on that?
I would not be uploading stuff to any AI, chat GPT sort of thing that is highly sensitive. And you can set your settings in chat GPT to not for it not to learn from what you send it. I still wouldn't be sending it stuff that you would consider too sensitive to shout in the middle of a street or something, because that's kind of what you're doing with it. So yeah, just general common sense security guidelines, I guess. So if that's, if what you're going to be recording or transcribing is something you wouldn't speak publicly, then I would use one of these ones that does everything locally on your computer.
They transcribe into Norwegian or other languages as well?
Yeah, a lot of these have 50 to 100 languages. So
Okay.
if it's one of the 50 to 100 languages that's most commonly spoken, you'll find it.